días, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it? You already know. Like a motherfucking smack addict. Bye up, bye up, bye. In a menudo style in direct fashion, we're going to get straight into the content of the day. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Ding. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I am kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support, man. We're going up on this channel and it's all because of you. And for that, I can say I'm very humbled and I'm very much so appreciative. So thank you. I know I couldn't do this without you. Gracias. So I wanted to tell you guys a little story about DVI, Tracy, Gladiator School, Northern California Reception Center, right? Or Central Valley Reception Center. You know, when people speak on the Central Valley, they don't understand the Central Valley is considered the Norte. Besides Fresno, who consider themselves just perros, bulldogs, and doing their own thing, everywhere else, the Central Valley is considered Northern California, and the Norteños are the strongest presence in the Central Valley. So yes, that is the Central Valley from, I'd say, maybe Madera up. That is definitely the reception, DVI Tracy, or was. You know, Tracy's now shut down. And there's a deep history of Tracy, all the way from organizations being formed in Tracy, the big yard. You know, a lot of things went on. A lot of blood has been spilled in Tracy Prison. And like I said, the history of Tracy is probably some of the most treacherous stories to come out of any prison system in the state of California, especially. So, you know, I was in Tracy and I was in reception. And I believe that this was my first term. It was my first term. And, you know, when I was in the youth authority, I had learned to make pedazos, pieces. For those of you that don't know what a pedazo is, it's a knife or a shank. And we had different ways of doing it when I was young. You know, I remember the shanks we used to make when I was in Fred C. Nellis were bed springs. We used to take the bed springs, cut them down, man, straighten them out because they were like wiggly. We'd straighten them out, sharpen the edge, wrap a t-shirt around it, and toma, you're going to get what you got, right? That's just what it was. There were some people that had some big metal pieces, man. They tear the things off the windows, the metal parts off the windows, and cut bunks and cut lockers up, and all that shit was happening. But for the most part, the shanks that I made were picos. We used to call them pico de gallos, right? Little pico, an ice pick. And I've been hit with those a couple times. And the cool thing about those is you can shove those motherfuckers deep, depending upon how long you made it. And so that's pretty much what we were doing in the youth authority. You know, you'd hit someone and run, go to the next person, hit them, and that's how it was. It wasn't like motherfuckers were staying on them on some Michael Myers shit. I didn't see that. I heard of that happening, but I never witnessed it. I just see motherfuckers just blast someone, scrape them, and do it pushing. And one thing about those pieces were it was soft metal, so it would bend sometimes when it hit a bone. It's crazy to talk like that, but it's just the truth of the matter. That's how it was. So I'm in Tracy Prison years later. And you know, in the county jail as a Norteño, you're going to get laced up and educated and indoctrinated into the get down of prison. And one of the main things when you're an active functioning soldado is you need to learn how to make weaponry. You need to learn how to make a RV, which is razor blades connected onto whatever you latch it to, right? Most of the times it's melted into a toothbrush, or there are people that just will, you know, take 8 or 9 razor blades, tape them together and just use that as a slashing device, whatever. But that's for the most part, that's how I was laced up in the county, to use razors because they were easy to get rid of, to flush, to throw. We didn't have too many pieces. So I didn't really know how to make them. Okay. So I get to Tracy Prison and I know because of my points, I'm going to be sitting there for a minute. See, people that have been there in reception, they'll tell you the higher the points, the longer you're going to sit in reception because it's harder for them to find a bed space, especially if you're going to a level 4 180. I've seen guys sit in Tracy or other receptions for over a year and over because it's hard to get bed space. You know, back in them days on the level 4 180 yards or any level 4, people weren't paroling. People weren't getting out. They weren't leaving. The only time bed space became available was if someone got blasted on the yard and they got killed, or, you know, people got into melees or there was something popping. Then, of course, people would get transferred from there to the oil, to the shoe, to go do a shoe or get validated. So that's the way that bed space was opening. Every once in a while, someone would parole after doing 20, 30 years and a bed space would become available. But when you have every reception in California, man, waiting on bed space, you're going to be there for a minute. So I remember I was waiting on a 4-yard. It's when I ended up going to Corcoran, right? And I was waiting. In fact, I was going to a 3-yard. I was waiting. I ended up going to Jamestown, taking flight there, then being transferred to Corcoran to finish my time out. So I'm sitting there waiting for a minute. I've been there a couple months, and they bring a black guy into my cell. Now, in them times in Tracy, right, they did sell Northerners up with blacks. That's the fact, right? So they bring a black about these old school. He's an OG, man. And first thing he gets in there, he introduces himself. He throws his paperwork on the bed out there. And again, you don't ask another race, and another race is not obligated to show you their paperwork. That's not what it is. But if it's your cellie and you're celled up with someone from a different race or a different ethnicity, then obviously, man, they're going to show you their paperwork, let you know that they're a cool dude. It's all good. And everything is everything, because you can't just sell it with anyone. You can't just, for anyone that goes into a cell and their cellie refuses or doesn't show them their paperwork, then you already know you got to get the fuck up out of there, or they got to get up out of there. It's how it is in prison, especially in California, right? So he gets in there, man, real professional with the shit, throws his paperwork out there. He's a good dude, solid. And he was in there for a murder. And so he was just starting his time out, but he was an OG convict. This wasn't his first merry-go-round. He had been riding this shit for a long time. So he starts telling me, man, hey, I'm from Oakland. You know what I'm saying? I'm Kumi, this, and that. And I recognize and I respect that. And at that time, man, we had a lot of willings and dealings with Africanos. We were cool with them at Tracy Prison. And let me explain about what a Kumi is for those of you that don't understand. Kumi is Swahili for the number 10. Okay? Back in the days, the old school area code 415, San Francisco, even Oakland and all that before the 510, everything was in the East Bay was considered 415, right? Especially in the San Francisco Bay. And they took that number, or that Swahili meaning of the number 10, and because of the numbers 415, which equals 10, they turned that into Kumi, which are basically Bay Area cats, Bay Area blacks. There are some Mexicans that are Kumis, a couple whites I know that are Kumis, but the majority's black, And the Bay Area moves different. They don't really do Crips or Bloods. They do turf shit, turf politics, Bay business. That's it. So I've always been cool with the Bay Area cats. I've always been cool with their get down. But hey, to be honest with you, them Kumis are wild, right? They're young, they're obnoxious, they're crazy. They're with the business though. Militant, structured up. They'll do their thing. They're a force to be reckoned with. Actually, man, them dudes, I know Los Sangres, the Bloods were kicking with them for a little while in certain yards. They were tearing shit up. And I remember, man, when my brother went to B Yard in High Desert, that was the time when the Norteños and the Kumis were at war, man, guerra. And vatos were getting clipped. They were getting hit. I remember there was a thing in High Desert, you had to hit someone 100 times to even be recognized. If you hit them 99 times, they'll laugh at you. That's how serious it is. So anyways, he comes in, we start kicking. He's a cool dude, right? And first thing he tells me is like, yeah, bro, he's trying to pick my mind. And because I'm a Norteño, there's certain things I can and cannot tell him. I couldn't expose my hand to him on, the COC, what position I was playing, what part I was playing. I just had to utilize the dummy role and not tell him too much because he's not part of my group. He could be using this information and filtering it out to our enemies, but it's reception. And receptions are such a quick turnaround that guys are coming and going. There's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things going on. And there's no denying that I was going to have to be at the door functioning with the homies and fishing and doing my thing. And he recognized that and he was cool with that. And I remember there was some Kumis right next door to us, some Northerners about 4 or 5 cells down. The whole 4 or 5 cells was Northerners. There was no Southsiders on the block. We were on J-Wing. There was there was very few whites. It was mostly Crips, Bloods, Kumis. And I was surprised that this guy being from Oakland was out there, but he had caught his case in Stockton. That's why he was out there, Originally from Oakland, Kumi out of Oakland, was fucking out there with a chick out there in Stockton, ended up getting caught up and killing someone. And so he fought his case in San Joaquin County. Then he ends up going. That's why he went to Tracy. Because most of the time, the dudes in Oakland go to Santa Rita. That's their county jail out there. And then from Santa Rita, they go to San Quentin, which is the Bay Area reception. And then they go to whatever main line they hit, right? But he was out there in the valley. So he was a smooth character, OG, like I said. So one day we got to conversating about making pieces. And I distinctly remember he was like, oh, you don't know how to make a piece? And I was like, I do, bro. But, and I started to explain to him about YA and how I didn't have an extensive knowledge of making too much pieces. So yes, to tell you the truth, man, a black dude actually showed me how to make my first righteous piece. So of course, man, he's fashioning it up. It took him a while to cut the metal on down. He's showing me the get down. He's sharpening it on the ground, doing all that. And I remember thinking, damn, man, this guy is making a piece, we're going to get caught up or we're going to have to utilize this piece. So you don't just make weapon. You don't have weapon stock and make weapon just to have it, especially in a reception. you usually fashion up a piece to use it. Okay. Once you get to a level 4 or level 3 yard, you're gonna have it on you. You're gonna know what time it is, or you're gonna have your shit positioned out in the yard so you can easily get to it if something cracks off. But you don't just fucking carry it on you unless you're Wes Watson and you just fucking hoop everything in sight, right? I think the Vato still has a fucking 55-inch television up his ass the way he walks. So you just never know, right? But anyways, so he shows me how to make a piece. It's a big old bone crusher, right? And he's like, yeah, little homie, this is how you do it, and whoop de whoop. And I'm respecting the fact that someone from a different car is getting down like that. But again, I'm very skeptical. You don't trust anyone, especially in prison. If they're not your own kind, if they're not your own people's, you got to be very skeptical, because this guy could J-Cat out and fucking use that same piece that I helped him make, or he helped me make, on me. So I'm kind of watching him from a distance, but he's cool. He's like, here, bro, that's you. And I remember thinking, damn. And I remember tying it to a little string and dropping it out of my cell window, which was stupid because the guys that are on the block across, they could see a piece outside of my window. But I remember wrapping it up, and it looked like I just had a toilet paper roll hanging out of my window, but that was actually my piece, right? So the cool part is we stood up all night, man. He was sharpening the shit out of that thing. And it was, hey, that motherfucker it was weather to weather. It was real, right? That was a well done piece. And I remember he was like, you make one, man. I'm making this one for you. You make one for me. So bam, I cut the shit down, man. I did what I did. And I made a halfway decent one. And he was like, all right, you're getting it. And whatever. So we threw them both out the thing. He's like, man, if anyone comes in our cell, we can get with it. Again, I'm not doing that much time. Okay, I think it was 4 years to do. This Vato was doing, or 4 years with 85%. This dude's doing all day. He's a lifer. Okay, he was given 25 to life. So he doesn't give a fuck, right? And there's a difference when you're a lifer, man. When you're a gang member, period, you got to be ready to understand that you'll probably never make it out of prison. You got to come to grips with that understanding, right? But this Vato, he already knew he wasn't getting out. He's probably still locked up right now, right? But let me tell you what happened to him. So what I didn't know was this cat had some troubles with some Crips on his last term, right? And he didn't tell me that. And I remember, man, one of the homeboys that was from Stockton, he gets at me and he's like, hey, that cat that you're settled with, bro, they had him segregated in the county. And I was like, well, was he PC or what was he, bro? Let me know, because I got a pedazo right here. I'll do my thing, right? And he was like, nah, I don't know, bro. But I think the Crips, they jumped him a couple times. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, what's up, bro? And it was the Town Home Crips from Stockton, 44 G's, the Northside Gangster Crips that he had got involved with. They're a pretty big group, and they function deep in Stockton. So I asked him, I was like, hey, bro, and there was a couple of them there, a dude named Black and a dude named J-Lo, right? And so I asked him, I was like, hey, bro, fucking, you got beef with the Crips? He was like, nah, bro, they were tripping on me in county because, see, last time when I paroled, you know what I'm saying, the Kumis, we were getting into it with the Crips, right? There was some political shit going on, and he goes, and I paroled about the shoe, I did some shit, I did a sticking, right? So I was like, oh, shit, so I could see where the hatred was for this guy, right? But no wild shit or no funny shit. They just didn't like him because he smacked on one of them, right? So he was like, yeah, man, the struggle was real in the county. He was like, man, every time, because I wasn't kicking it with them and because I was on my Kumi shit, there wasn't very many of us there. He goes, I was the only one from Oakland. Every time I came out the cell, they try to run up or they send a little youngster and I dust him. This fool was swole. He was an OG, but he was swole. And when I say OG, at that time I was in my 20s. That Vato was like fucking almost 40, right? So he was nice. He was in his prime. And so I understood. I was like, yeah. So I get at the homie. I'm like, nah, bro, he's good. According to what he said, I seen all his paperwork. He's solid. They just don't like him because he smacked one of them, in the pen. So he's like, I don't know, bro, but they're saying when we go to yard, they're going to get on him. Don't tell him, right? And so, so you feel, sometimes you feel obligated to let your cellie know. But again, I can't involve myself. And it's fucked up. I know it seems fucked up because we were cool, but we weren't that cool, right? His business and what he has to deal with, he has to deal with. Now, I could have been the man and said, hey, bro, these fools are tripping. They're going to get with your program. But I figured, hey, he's a big boy. He's been handling his business. Ain't nothing new to him. He's true to this shit, not new to this. He'll go out into that yard and handle his shit. Now, there was a couple other cats there from the Bay Area. There was probably about, I don't know, on that. That's a big-ass building. It's long, right? 3 tiers. So there's probably about 20 of them. Probably about 20 cats from the Bay, Frisco, Oakland, Richmond, Berkeley, all that. So I'm thinking, all right, he's going to go out there to the big yard, get in with his homies. Now, we had been on lockdown because we had been getting into it with the whites. So we never really had hit the yard. In fact, this was my first time going to the yard when he became my cellie. So I was like, I was new to this shit too. All I knew is the homeboys told me, man, go walk straight to the back. There's a big track. Walk straight to the back. On the right-hand side, that's the Norteños area. We function right there next to those bars, man. The homies would get at you. I was already cleared, so I didn't have to worry about, getting posted up on or nothing like that. I had a couple homeboys from Merced there. I was good, right? I was good in the hood. I was already in the COC, meaning the chain of command. I was the BC at that time, the building channel. At first, I was the TS, the tier security. Then I moved on up. And I thought I was somebody. Little did I know everybody fucking gets the position, right? But I just thought I was bad. And I was functioning. I was striving. So anyways, I hear this shit and I'm like, fuck, man. How would this guy react if someone shot him and we like, hey, we're going to blast your celly or we're going to get off on your celly. Don't say nothing. Would he tell me? And I felt obligated to tell him. But then at the same time, I'm going to be honest with you. I was like, man, this is not my business. This guy could do anything. He could PC up. He could tell the cops, hey, man, and then we got pieces in the cell. They're going to we can both get caught up on these pieces. I was like, hell no. I was thinking about ripping the fucking line, letting the pieces fall. But you can't do that. You can't throw away weapon stock as a Norteño, man. At all times, we got to utilize whatever we got. So I'm like, shit, whatever. That's Crip and Kumi business. So anyways, this guy had just helped me the night before, like I said, make a piece. He taught me how to make a piece. And he didn't have to do that. But he obligated himself to that out of being just righteous. And here I am, I'm going to let him go to the yard and get beat up on. That's how treacherous and dirty politics are in prison. That's the game. Nothing I could do to prevent it. They're already going to do what he does. But like I said, he's a seasoned convict. He's not a sucker, so let him. So anyways, the next day, bam, it's going to be yard time. They're releasing our building for yard, right? And so I had already told him, hey, bro, I'm saying, I'm a Norteño. So as soon as I go out there, bro, in the cell, we're cool. We do our thing. But once we hit that the hallway, it's long corridors. Once we hit that corridor to go out to the yard, I'm saying, I'm going to get in line with some of my homeboys right there. I had a couple homeboys from San Jose that were down the tier, a homeboy from the east side, and there was a homeboy from the north. And I was like, I'm going to get in line with them, homes, and do my thing. And I'll see you back in the cell. I already knew he wasn't probably going to make it back. But I was just like, fuck. And I felt bad. The whole night I was arguing with the demons. Like, damn, you're a scandalous motherfucker. But that's how it is. Like I said, if I would have got involved in his business and told him and he'd have PC'd up, I'd have probably got deemed. It'd have been all bad because they didn't know I told him something. So I was like, in that case, your career means more than theirs. So whatever. So as we go walking out, right, at the last minute before we hit the yard, he's like, we're all in a line, right? We're all walking with our hands behind our back. That's how you have to walk in, Tracy, or you did in them times. You got to keep your hands behind your back, right? So we're mobbing. He's like a few guys back. He's with a couple Bay Area cats. So I'm like, he's good. He's got backup, right? There's a gang of Crips, like 20, 30 of them all lined up. We had a gang of townhome Crips and a gang of SAT Crips, Garden Block, Merced Gangster Crips, all that, right? They're all right there. And I could see they're plotting. I'm like, oh shit. And I tell the homies, hey, it's going to go down there. Like, we know already, right? The Cripas already got at us. And we were so cool with blacks, with the Crips. Not necessarily the Bloods. I don't know why that was. There wasn't very many of them. Well, we were cool with the Kumis and the Crips, but more so with the Crips, right? And so they had already let the homies know, hey, it's going to go down. We're going to lay this fucking yard down. So enjoy your sit-ups and your burpees while you can. And usually most people on that prison, they'll do their thing. They'll do their movida on yard recall. You get, because you don't get yard that much in Tracy and reception. So you get your whole yard off, relax, do your thing. And then when they say, hey, when they blow the horn, line it up, it's time for yard recall, that's when fools start whacking each other. So we're thinking, okay, it's going to go to yard recall. I didn't make it to that point. Made it about maybe a midway through the yard. So I'm over there with the homies and we're all watching. We're trying not to dry snitch by watching too much, but everybody's on alert. And the homie tells us, hey, we need posts everywhere. Be on alert because we don't know if these Crips are going to fucking double back on us. Not only that, they had woods that were out on the yard, and we had this was the first yard coming out with the woods that we were getting into it with. But it was actually a group called the Wolf Pack, right? And so they were up out of the way. But anyways, trip out. So this was pre-Wolf Pack Wars. That was the next time. This was just regular woods. In fact, we were going at it with the American Skins. They were called the American Skins. One of them had got whacked in Tracy and a Sacramaniac, and so that's why that they were tripping, right? But everything was cool. We were keeping our eyes on the woods, and they functioned way on the other side of the bars. We were on the right-hand side. They were way on the left-hand side. So we're peeping them out. We got posters right there, posted up on them. And we see a gang of Kumis. They're walking the track. There's like maybe 10, 15 of them, and a gang of Crips. And they're like, now, because they brought our building out, they brought like 3 different buildings out. So we're with a gang of homies. We're the majority. There's like 100 of us on the yard. There's like maybe 30 or 40 whites. Blacks, there's probably a few hundred blacks, but they're fragmented into groups, Crips, Bloods, Kumi. And so we see all kinds of Crips walking into Kumis, and then they just stop in the middle of the track, turn around. Man, I don't know what it was, but they started blasting my cellie. I seen them get hit. Boom, boom, boom. They started going at it down, down, everyone down, right? So we're all getting down, and yeah, man, they didn't kill him, but they left him leaking real bad. So I remember going back to the building afterward. We're out there for about an hour. They're checking hands. IGI comes out, or the ISU, excuse me, and the IGI and all that comes out, because that's two different things, right? IGI and ISU. So they bring the ISU out and they bring the IGI out, and the sergeant's walking around checking people's hands. They're questioning people. No one's seen shit. We don't know nothing. So they take me back to my building, right? And my cellie was involved in the melee, a gang of cells, and they're like, pack his shit up. Your cellie's going to K-Wing. He's going to medical and K-Wing. So he didn't have much. He had barely got there, right? So what little letters and shit he brought from the county, I threw in his little shit, threw in a bag, threw it, the cop took it, threw it in front of the door. And so one of the homies gets at me. He was like, hey, bro. He was like, fucking your cellie is a rat. He was a rat. And I was like, what do you mean? And I guess what had happened was he got into it with the Crips over there in Stockton, and he had told on a few of them, and they had the paperwork on it. It was in a write-up. See, of course, I only seen this 120 AG and shit like that. I didn't see, what he had going on internally in prison or in the county. And so that's why they moved on him. Man, let me tell you, what's the first thing you would have done? Let me tell you the first thing I did, right? The homies were like, damn, bro. I said, well, and then of course I'm high power. If I'd have known, fool, I'd have dealt with it. But it's none of my business. Let me tell you the first thing I did. Man, I tell the homeboys, Spencer, hey, bro, I got weapon stock. You guys need it? They're like, yeah, forward that shit. Boom, I took those 2 pieces. Man, he didn't even take a piece out to the yard because he didn't know what was going down. He's stupid, right? I took those pieces, man. I slid them out my cell so quick because I was going to be leaving soon. I had been there for a minute, so I was going to be leaving, and I couldn't. You don't hoop and fucking take a knife with you, bro. This ain't make-believe shit, right? So I fucking shot it to the homies, and I couldn't get that shit out of myself fast enough because I was like, oh, this fool's telling like that. He might turn around and be like, find out that I knew and didn't tell him and tell on me. And next thing you know, I'm getting fucking a new case for these 2 pieces, right? So anyways, yes, it's unfortunate the way it went down, but the guy who taught me how to actually make my first shank in prison, a real one, he got booked the next day. It's crazy. It'd be like that sometimes. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the story. Tracy was dangerous, man. I could tell you, I've seen probably in my lifetime in any prison I've ever been to, besides the youth authority, because the youth authority was rocking every day, right? But Tracy Prison was probably where I've seen the most removals, whacking, stabbing, stickings than any other place I've ever been to. Every yard, there was a removal. Every yard. We never got to enjoy the whole yard. And then, I've been to where I did a violation and seen the yard one time and never seen it again. I've been to Tracy 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 times. About 5 times, right? And I've never, ever seen the yard more than 5 times. Maybe once every time I'm there. It's crazy, right? With that being said, I hope that you move with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming, and remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the strive, the struggle, the struggle, the strive. I appreciate all the support, man. I got bangers going on. I'm going fishing here, so you know what it is, man. This is the gun. Bang, bang.